We're discussing careers and engage in applied anthropology, or yes, you can get a job as an anthropologist. What is applied anthropology? Applied anthropology refers to the application of anthropological data, perspectives, theory, and methods to identify, assess, and solve social problems. Applied anthropologists work for groups that promote, manage, and assess programs aimed at influencing human social conditions. There are several types of applied anthropology we'll discuss here. They come from all of the four subfields. Biological anthropologists work in public health, nutrition, genetic counseling, substance abuse, epidemiology, aging, mental illness, and forensics. Applied archaeologists locate, study, and preserve prehistoric and historic sites threatened by development. It's also called cultural resource management. Cultural anthropologists work with social workers, business people, advertising professionals, factory workers, medical professionals, school personnel, and economic development experts. And then linguistic anthropologists frequently work with schools and districts with various languages. So, what is the role of the applied anthropologist? We're going to look at three different views: the ivory tower, the schizoid, and the advocate. The ivory tower view contends that anthropologists should avoid practical matters and focus on research, publication, and teaching. The schizoid view is that anthropologists should carry out but not make or criticize policy. Their job simply is to describe and explain. The advocacy view argues that since anthropologists are experts on human problems and social change, they should make policy affecting people. Jobs for applied anthropologists. Professional anthropologists work for a wide variety of employers: tribal and ethnic associations, governments, non-governmental organizations or NGOs, etc. During World War II, anthropologists worked for the U.S. government to study Japanese and German culture. The responsibilities of the anthropologist. The primary ethical obligation of the anthropologist to the people, species, or materials he or she studies. Researchers must respect the safety, dignity, and privacy of the people, species, or material studied. Researchers must obtain the informed consent of the people to be studied. Anthropologists should expect to encounter ethical dilemmas during their work. They're responsible for the integrity and reputation of their discipline or scholarship and of science. And researchers should also disseminate their findings to the scientific and scholarly community. Researchers should also make their results available to sponsors, students, decision makers, and other non-anthropologists. And they may move beyond disseminating research results to a position of advocacy. Academic and applied anthropology. Academic anthropology had its beginnings in the early 20th century with Kroeber, Malinowski, and Boas being the leaders in this effort. After World War II, the baby boom fueled the growth of the American educational system in anthropology, fostering the further growth of academic anthropology. Applied anthropology began to grow in the 1970s as anthropologists found jobs with international organizations, governments, business, and schools. And the National Historic Preservation Act of 1966 resulted in the new field of cultural resource management. The pragmatism of cultural anthropology. In the 1960s, anthropology's focus fit with prevailing social interests, which began the turn to practical applications. Anthropology's ethnographic method, holism, and systemic perspective make it uniquely available in applications to social problems. Applied cultural anthropology has excelled in four areas in particular: education, urban social issues, medicine, and business. Let's look at anthropology and education. It's helped to facilitate the accommodation of cultural differences in classrooms. Some examples of this would be looking at English as a second language taught to Spanish-speaking students, and different culturally based reactions to various pedagogical techniques. In the case of urban anthropology, we know that human populations are becoming increasingly urban, and this is across the globe. Urban anthropology is a cross-cultural and ethnographic study of global urbanization and life in the cities. Urban versus rural. Robert Redfield was an early student of the differences between the rural and urban context. Various instances of urban social forms are given as examples. For example, the work in Kampala, Uganda, with social networks in particular. Let's look at medical anthropology. It's both academic or theoretical and applied practical. Medical anthropology is the study of disease and illness in their social cultural context. We know that disease is a scientifically defined ailment, and that illness is an ailment as experienced and perceived by the sufferer. Healthcare systems and specialists. All societies have healthcare systems. Healthcare systems consist of beliefs, customs, specialists, and techniques aimed at ensuring health and preventing, diagnosing, and treating illness. Healthcare specialists include curers, shamans, and doctors. What have we learned from non-Western medicine? Non-Western systems of medicine are often more successful at treating mental illness than Western medicine. They often explain mental illness by causes that are easier to identify and combat. Non-Western systems of medicine diagnose and treat the mentally ill in cohesive groups with full support of their kin. The downside of Western medicine. Despite its advances, Western medicine also has problems. These include the overprescription of drugs and tranquilizers, unnecessary surgery, impersonality and inequality of the patient-physician relationship, and the overuse of antibiotics. Medical development. Like economic development, medical development must fit into local systems of healthcare. Medical anthropologists can serve as cultural interpreters between local systems and Western medicine. Anthropology and business. Anthropologists can provide unique perspectives on organizational conditions and problems within businesses. Applied anthropologists have acted as cultural brokers in translating managers' goals or workers' concerns to the other group. For business, key features of anthropology include ethnography, cross-cultural expertise, and focus on cultural diversity. And finally, Careers in anthropology. Because of its breadth, a degree in anthropology may provide a flexible basis for many different careers. Other fields, such as business, have begun to recognize the worth of such anthropological concepts as microcultures. Anthropologists work professionally as consultants to indigenous groups at risk from external systems. And the final word, the University of Memphis has one of the top recognized applied programs in the country.